Hockey Nation fans, welcome back to the Hockey Nation live show with Coach Frenchy directly from the booth. And of course, we have to go all the way to the West Coast to find our co-host, Michael Devellano. Welcome back, Michael. Happy Friday.
Good morning. Happy Black Friday.
Happy Black Friday. Hopefully you have a great Thanksgiving day with your friends, your family, not too much turkey, and ready to rock and roll the Hockey Nation live show. You still have your coffee this morning, so feel like you're going to be great. Today we're going to talk about the Washington Capitals during the preview 31-31. We're almost at the end of the 31-31. I believe after that we have maybe one or two more teams. After that, the over. And of course we have the new Michael Devellano quiz every single day now. We're going to get this today. And we have also the recent breaking news around the NHL until when the hockey is going to restart. We're going to talk more about that fun games, fun thing. But so far, like the Thanksgiving situation USA, it was very quiet around the league yesterday, honestly. Not much to do about the fact like an interview with Elliot Freeman, Philman on the Sportnet yesterday with Tim. And they talk about the reason why they don't talk between each other. It's just like everybody was so hot last week. The stove was very hot, so they don't want to go that kind of confrontation. And they don't want to go public also. They know already the situation around the league, around the world is very negative. And we don't need to have more negativity of what's going on, honestly. So both parts just decide to, come back and then thinking more and see the situation. But with what he said yesterday, I really believe he had no choice. The NHL is going to have to come back. You have too much money involved with the contract, TV contract. And the good thing about that, he really believes now, NBC, but now ESPN, they have CBS, they have another one, and USA want to be a part of the NHL the next couple of years. So it's not like before when they lost, ESPN dropped NHL for years, a couple of years, they can't find anybody. It was very hard.
Well, look how silly ESPN is now. I mean, they're struggling even in good times.
Yeah.
And NBC.
It was Fox. There you go. It was Fox I was missing.
Yeah, well, Fox was a long time ago, but
no, Fox want to come back. That's my point. They have
they do.
Channel try to find a way to negotiate with.
They're desperate for programming, Pierre. Like nobody's making movies. Like Netflix is probably kicking everyone's butt because they're still, they still have content in the tin. Live sports, even though the ratings are down from where they were, like live sports are the only new content every week or every day.
Well, the situation TV is changing, right? TV is not about.
I think they're in a good spot. I mean, but let's be honest, the revenues are going to be nowhere near overall for anybody. But no. I think there will be competition. I think they'll be lucky to maintain the number that they had before, though.
With USA, they was at $200 million, and Rogers Center was between $300-500 million. I think Rogers picked up a lot of money under the cover to helping.
They made it like abandoned, Pierre. Like that's the number one programming in Canada, right?
Yeah,
I think the issue is in the States.
The good thing I think the right decision NHL should do is to go with take everything for the upcoming season by area, by regions. Like, put all the 7 teams in Canada together, put those teams on the West Coast, on the East Coast, find a way on the Southeast maybe, and maybe the Midwest after that. I think that will increase the popularity of hockey by rivalities, everything like that. Is it the best way? No, but I think also Elliot was talking maybe they are start only at the late January. Maybe the season's going to be only 48 games versus.
I would think it's going to be a lot shorter, but I think the players don't want to take less money, But if they play 48 games, I mean, the revenues might be 25%. So it's kind of a tough call. I think that if they're going to maximize the TV deal, they need at least 60 to 70 games. And the problem we know is logistics. I just think that as much as owners want to play in their own buildings, because they all have leases, you're not, I mean, that's just a black hole. So I think that they have to come up with a game plan, to your point, that says, here's regional bubbles that rotate.
Definitely.
And I think that will play to their advantage for sure if they do that. But I don't know if I mean, the revenues could be 25, 30% of what they're used to. That's what's scary. The contracts are very important. The Canadian contract will really help. I'm sure that's going to be the number one programming in Canada. United States, we saw the Stanley Cup final was very, very poor. It was down like 50, 60%.
Yeah. So you have a really big decision to come into the next couple of days and 10 days. I believe, anyway, they have no choice. They have to go around the next 5 days. Next week, they should go because they already have 4 weeks at the beginning. Now they
should have decided by now.
With George Ward, the head coach for Calgary, said, we are prepared for the upcoming 2021 to be ready whatsoever. Is many players around everywhere they are on the ice right now, practice. And then, remember all those guys, I know they have a lot of money, but still, nobody wants to lose money. Secondly, the player don't want to lose, don't worry about Crosby, don't worry about McDavid, don't worry
about the lower end players, right?
It's the third group of the 800 players. Those 500 to 800, they play maybe for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and that's it. You have a chance to make $1 million. That's the problem there.
So I think anyone that's $1.5 million and under is really, but I don't know if the NHL is even addressing those guys. I would think they're bringing it up, but the top guys, I don't know. It's a weird situation. It's definitely tough, but I think you got to think about those guys. Like if a guy's contract is $750 and he ends up getting $300,000. It's not that it's bad money, but it's, that's a big jump. That's a big dip versus a guy that's like 7 million going down to 3.5 million.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Let's go around around a couple of news. No, it's not a big one because we know that what's going on with the WGC and right there, like they shut down everything. But Alex Lafreniere, he's thinking maybe remain an option for Hockey Canada at WGC. It's not out of the question yet because the situation with the NHL and everything like that. So
I would think he plays. This might be the greatest World Junior ever.
Yes.
Like honestly, Canada should be allowed to field 2 teams.
Exactly about that.
There's so much talent there. If they let those guys all in, it would be a real shame to not see it all play. I mean, they could legit have a red and a white team. And you wouldn't know which one would win. Did you see the Joel Ward announcement?
The who?
Joel Ward.
No.
Joel Ward got hired as an assistant coach, I think, in Chicago.
Oh, no. Joel Ward? You talk about?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. He got hired as assistant coach with the Anderson Silver Knight and the AHL with the Vegas.
Toronto boy. He played for Nashville. He played a little bit in Washington. Real good player. I mean, so I'm glad to see him get hired. That's great for him. And
39 years old, was like, did not play since 17 and 18. Last game for the San Jose Sharks.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So again?
I forgot about that he played for the Sharks.
Yeah.
So Manny Viveros is the coach there with Jamie Heward, another ex-player. I mean, they're all ex-players. Manny has been a longtime coach in the WHL. He's had success there. So is Henderson Las Vegas's team now?
Yep. There's some new teams coming in the AHL. I think that would be good to do that and everything like that. So
Joel Ward is another great example, by the way, like for kids out there that are thinking like, should I keep playing? Like he was kind of like he came out a little bit out of nowhere, and he had a great career with Nashville. He got an opportunity when there was expansion, which those opportunities are probably less now because we have legitimate expansion draft that moves talent around, but he got an opportunity and made the most of it. He's from North York. He played for the Owen Sound Attack, and he played in Austria for not Austria. He played in the with University of Prince Edward Island for 4 years.
4 years, yes.
Yep. So he basically, he was in 1980 birth year. He did not make the NHL. He played 11 games with Minnesota as a 26-year-old. He really didn't make the NHL. He was 28.
Yep. I'm talking about news. We don't have a lot. I'm going to go through to you to bring you to the draft, NHL draft 2021. The couple of first pick candidates. You know how it was so good this year. The last couple of years. I think we have to go all the way to Nolan, Patrick, and Hershiser before that year was not great as a top, like Lafreniere or McDavid or those guys, right? They have the completely one
sure.
Or this year, 2021 is 1 year where we don't have that kind of players.
Yeah, we don't have like a generational talent, and I think legitimately there's 4 or 5 guys that could go first.
So I'm going to give you a couple of players and tell a little bit more about our fans and nation fans. What do you think about this? Let's start with he struggled right now, but he was considered maybe at some point a couple of months ago, maybe number 1, and he have a difficult time in Liga, and he does do very well right now. It's a Haïtu Ratti.
Yeah, I anticipate him dropping. He's a good-sized centerman. He's kind of a north-south type player. I don't know if he has like super high-end skill, but he's a very, he's kind of like a prototypical, kind of a 1B center. So, you would project him as like, is he a 60, 70-point guy? He might struggle, I think, at the NHL level to get the type of offense that people want. And I think you're seeing that him playing pro. He's a young guy, obviously, like he's 17, 18. He'll be a good player at some point. I just don't know what he'll be. Will he be a 50, 60-point centerman? It takes a little bit of time. Because he's not like... He's above average in every area.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. He's right now in danger, not even making Finland World Junior team.
Is he? Yeah. It's a weird year.
Yeah, it's really weird. Number 2, Owen Power, defenseman with Michigan NCAA.
Well, I really think overall the best players coming out of this draft are going to be defensemen. So I think I have Brant Clark ahead of Owen Power. And Owen Power is a big defenseman. He's a little bit lean. He can do a lot of things really well. Michigan's a powerhouse, though, and I think that his stock is a little overrated right now.
He's a 6'5".
Yeah, he's big, and he can skate well, and he's like 180 or 190 pounds, I bet.
Yep.
He can play, though. He's a really good prospect for someone. I don't think that's a guy you draft and makes the NHL right away. That might take a little time.
No, this is all about for the NHL prospect 2021. It's not they want going to make the NHL, but it's all about become like maybe one of the top
guy you'll draft.
So the next one is Luke Hughes, number 3.
Well,
the family.
I don't think. I think that he's going to move up. He's the youngest brother of Quinn and Jack Hughes. He's bigger than both of them. He's probably 6'1", 6'2".
6'2".
I saw him in the.
You're right.
What is he now?
6'2".
Yeah, you could tell when he was younger, he was already bigger than them. So he's like 2 years younger than Quinn. And you would see him he would come to LA and so first of all, they all grew up in Toronto. So U.S. development could say what they want with these guys. They grew up in Toronto and they played in Toronto and they played for the Marlies, and that's where they got good. Now their dad was an executive with the Toronto Maple Leafs. They moved program, which is a program. But I think that they really cut their teeth in Toronto, and they saw the level of competition every week in the GTHL, and that helped them a lot. Luke is a guy where you don't look at him like you look at Quinn and Jack. Quinn and Jack are smaller, quick, smart players. And I think that when people look at Luke, they go, he's not as good, but he's good. He's just big. And he doesn't have the same physical makeup, but he can really skate, and he's a point-a-game defenseman. And I think that he moves up ahead of Owen Power.
I really believe he's a top 5.
He should be a top 5 pick, but I think what's going to happen is the best players in this draft might be the defensemen, because there's 3 of them at the top, and there's a 4th one that could sneak in. And I think once one of them goes, then everyone's going to race to get the other ones.
Next one, William Eklund from the Church Garden and SHL. Is it the son of the Pierre-Élie Eklund?
Wow, they have him rated that high?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a lot of players ahead of these guys.
He has 10 point, 14 game in the SHL.
I don't have him anywhere in the top 10 personally.
His teammate is Alexander Ols.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I have him in the top. I mean, I have him way later, Pierre. Okay. He's a centerman. I think I have him in the bottom half of the first round.
Okay.
Now, he might move up. He's a smaller guy. He's like 5'10", skilled player. So I could see where he would easily move up, but I don't think I have him in the top 10 personally.
Then I'm going to finish with a couple of, you know, the reason why I didn't mention OHL, WHL yet, because that's the player did not play yet, or they are like on the old. I'm going to give you mentioned one here. It's a Brand Clark, defenseman for Barrie and OHL.
Brand Clark to me is the best defenseman. I think he's the best of all the guys you mentioned. I believe that he's got the potential easily to be a number 1 defenseman. He's going to play a very big part in Barrie. We saw last year when they moved Ryan Suzuki that between Tyson Forrester and Brant Clark, they took over that team. And he's just another ex-Toronto Marley. I think he played with Luke Hughes when he was younger. And I don't know. I think I have him ahead of Hughes, and I think I have him ahead of Power.
Okay. Another one, and is a right wing with the Edmonton and WHL is Dylan Guenther.
Gunther's very good. I'm trying to project, like what I'm trying to. It's really hard for me to see him versus like Kent Johnson or him versus the Finnish kid. It's not a stretch to say that he's as good as them. He's just a different player. I think he's kind of like a 5 to 8. To me, I think that Chaz Lucius is ahead of him. But he has very good skill. He can score goals. And I think you're going to see his offensive numbers when he comes back are going to be very, very good. Like he was a point a game last year, and I would think that the coming year that he would be a 40 goal scorer, but I don't know if I love he's got skill and he's a good skater and he's quick. And but I don't know if he's like super dynamic,
2 more one you mentioned, and then another one you just mentioned from the center from Michigan is Ken Johnson.
Yeah, we drafted him in Everett. We knew we drafted him late, but he was what he was. He's a very good player. I mean, is he like a 1.5 a game there?
Yeah, but again, he's like that team is really powerful this year.
But he's the best of them. And he might be the best guy on that team, though.
Yeah. Like, Benier.
Well, that's the team Brisson's on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So Kent Johnson, he's a 2002, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's got 7 points in 4 games. He played in the BCHL because he waited it out. He's got good height. I think he's going to take some time to fill out. He's a left shot forward. But I don't know. Like, Bordelot is on that team, and they got Cam York and Brenda Brisson, Owen Power. Like, they're pretty stacked. But I think he might be the best player out of all of them.
And the last one, the finalist, that one is from Sweden, Simon Edvinsson, defenseman from Frölunda.
Yeah, well, I think he's going to move up. He's like 6'4". He's a good skater. I think it's going to be really tough to say that Owen Power or the other defenseman that's in the top, not Brant Clark, but the other one. I think he's going to close the gap on those two. I think that if you look at the three of them, they'll probably all go very close together. And you haven't talked about Chaz Lucius, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but by the way, you have a big article. I know we are dealing with the time right now, but you have a big article in Montreal, Canada this morning about agents go around the 11, 12 years old now to get signed and they can be a part of it.
That's very unusual, Pierre.
It's become right now a difficult time for everybody because now they have so many agents around everybody, so they are hungry to make money. So before it was said, okay, not before 15, 16 midget, then they said, let's go move on to bantam level, you're 13, 14, and now they are starting now, they're targeting the 12.
That doesn't make sense. There's no point. I mean, first of all, you can't sign a player as an agent until later. The only point to have an agent is when they're, they can help them get on good teams. So I get that. And there's probably young agents trying to up and come. That's very rare. You're going to have a 12-year-old kid with an agent. More often you have these guys that want to be advisors. The real agents, though, aren't touching them till they're 14, 15, because the reality is they might do camps and keep an eye on them. But the reality is, until you're negotiating a contract at the WHL when you're 14 going on 15, or you're 15 going on 16 in the OHLQ, that's when the agents start coming in. And that's logical because that's when you need help. And then, I think that not every player is going to be able to get one. Like, we're talking like the top 1 to 5% of players are going to.
They are talking about you have some stats and QM. For 400 players, 350 of them have an agent. They said they have big recruits, 13, 14 years old, where so you have a lot of players like professionally, like Daniel Briere was said, when I want to play QM my first year, you have an agent sign 4 players around me. Nobody look at me. And then at 17 years old, that's why I start to produce. And then that's what everybody, the highlights turning. So the point you try to do is,
I don't think that's a bad thing.
You never know. It's too early.
It's not too early. It
a lot
is not. Let me tell you why. Because you don't want to deal with parents. If a kid is getting drafted into the queue, he needs an agent.
Thomas Chabot played double C at 14 years old.
That's fine. Doesn't matter. Because the reality is, if you are a AAA player and you're getting drafted into the Q or the O or the WHL, you negotiate. You don't. It's not really any negotiation, but there is a contract, and it helps because what we don't want to talk to is parents. Like it negatively affects the kid when he doesn't.
The point is not talking about the parent. The point of the article said it's too early.
It's not too early. They don't know what they're talking about.
Agent to go to run after the young kids at 13, 12 years old to make them a AA player or a AA player and to make them, you're going to play as soon you're going to become the next Crosby or the next players like this, where they said they could wait.
I disagree totally. What? I totally disagree. Disagree.
With someone, his son is a double B or a double A.
Then he can get an agent when he needs one, but the agents aren't signing everybody. Now, there's if you are an elite player and you get a real agent with real OHL, Q, or W players, they're not going to sign just any old kid, and they don't make money off them. And if anybody's trying to charge you money, then you don't do anything.
No, the goal of the article is about why to give false dream to the player who is never going to make the QM. They're never going to get, because you never know. A kid.
Well, that's different.
14, yeah. 14 to 14.
That's what I'm saying to you, though. Like no agent worth his salt is going to charge you money. So no agent will ever charge you money. The way the agent makes money is when you get a professional contract. Now, they will establish a relationship with a player if you're legitimate and you're getting drafted. And if you're not getting drafted, there's a reason. And if you're AA, you're not getting drafted for the most part, except for, like the exception is Minnesota or Quebec.
Of course.
However, to suggest that every player needs an agent is ridiculous. Does this person have anyone on their roster? And are they signing professional players? So now, to that point, I agree. Family advisors are not real agents, Pierre.
No, but that's the point. We're not talking about that Brisson or
exactly. That's my point.
I'm talking about the lower people. Just try to go through them. They sign Mr. XXX just because I have an agent now. I have someone that care, whatever it is. It's just like the article is hurting a lot of hockey in Quebec, where they compare the situation with them versus Sweden or Finland, and the hockey is changing in Quebec because it's not produced high level hockey because the situation, everything like that. So that's
not
a lot
because of agents that's not happening. The problem
they will start with the agent, and after that they talk about hockey need to be reevaluated and not to, targeting more about to have fun. You never know what a kid can do at 14 versus 16, and let them have fun and to develop.
I think that's completely wrong. They don't know what they're talking about, because we draft players at 14 and we have a bit of a difficult time between 14 and 15. And that might be 1 year too early. In Quebec, they draft at 15. By 15, you know who's a player and who isn't. Now, there are players that will pop through, but those are the exception. So we're not saying quit hockey. Like, this is why the OHL implemented a midget draft. So they have a minor midget draft, and then they have a midget draft, because midget is 2 years. So the reason is because we know that there are players that stay behind, they move up from double to triple, and then suddenly they're very good. A really good example of that is Wayne Simmons. Like, Wayne Simmons is a player and Chris Tanev's another one. Like, those guys played AA in Toronto. They developed late, and then suddenly in a couple years, they're in the OHL. So we do know that. However, that doesn't mean the top players, you can tell. Like, when Sagan was 12, I could tell you Sagan and Skinner were going to be in the NHL someday if they didn't get hurt.
Yeah, but you don't targeting those guys. They're targeting the general people.
Well, I get that. So I guess what I'm saying, I get it.
Years old, at 13 years old, any freaking scout can see them. He's going to play in NHL.
Yeah. But exactly. So they
four line, and whatever they are.
Well, to suggest that players, this is like the nanny nation, Pierre. To think that you're just going to show up, go to your team practices and have fun and become a player is a lie. It's nonsense, because the players that get very good are on the ice every day. They shoot pucks every day. A lot of them have skills coaches. Some of them have a skating coach, a stick handling coach, a shooting coach. And if you think that doesn't make a difference, it absolutely does. And then they also train off ice, even body weight at a young age, and they learn things. So if you have a kid playing AA, he's going to some garbage practice twice a week, and you think that he's going to make the NHL, I have bad news for you. The only reason he makes the NHL is because he gets a chance to play AAA, and AAA is very difficult. And the only way he's going to play AAA is if he's doing those other things as a AA, and he has some athletic ability that's going to get him there. Definitely. So the lie to suggest that, let's just let everybody have fun and the best players will come up is completely nonsense, and it'll create a bigger problem. And the agent issue, again, I'm giving the formula. If your agent is trying to charge you, and they're not an actual registered agent, that's not an agent. That's a guy trying to make his living off kids.
Yeah.
So it frustrates me listening, to, families don't, especially in the States, they don't know any better. In Canada, they sell the dream. However, let's be honest of how you develop players. You don't do it by just showing up to 2 week, once or twice a week to your team practice. And it's unusual. Like, you need to play 4 or 5 days a week, and you need to do a bunch of extra stuff. And if you're unwilling to do that, guess what? That's what Luke and Quinn Hughes do. That's what Connor McDavid does. They go to academies, they're on the ice every single day, and they have specialized coaches, and they'll get on the ice any chance they can because they love it.
Yep.
And that's what gets you good. The days of thinking you're going to skate on a pond or show up at Shinny and not learn how to play the game at a high level, it's gone. And then the agent thing, listen, players need representation, because I get messages from parents all the time, and it's I shouldn't be talking to parents.
Of course. I know it is. All right, let's move on to the Michael Devellano quiz in the Hockey Nation live show.
Oh boy.
Here we go, Michael. We have a couple of good questions for you this morning. We'll see how you are.
All right.
We're going to start with in 1996, on this date, November 27, and 1996. The Ottawa Senator trade this player to the St. Louis Blues for Krister Olsen, who it is.
Oh my God. To St. Louis? Pavel Demitra.
You got it, my friend.
Rest in peace, Pavel Demitra, because he died in that plane crash.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. Was it Torpedo or Yaroslav?
Torpedo, I think.
Yeah, that was very sad. A lot of players
died. 1969, talking about the Los Angeles King. This player scored his first goal in NHL.
In 1969?
Yeah.
Butch Goring?
You got it.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
In 2009, this player lost 7 teeth and required upwards of 100 stitches.
Was he a goalie? Jacques Plante?
He's a forward. 2009. 2009.
Oh, 2009. I thought you said 69. Oh, Jesus. 2009. And what happened? He lost
70 and required upwards of 100 stitches. A little bit like Johnny Bolchuk happened.
2009. Was it Jeremy Roenick?
No. He was with the Philadelphia Flyers.
That's not Jeremy Roenick?
No.
Don't you remember when Roenick got that horrible? Yeah. That was terrible.
He is now assistant coach with the Flyers, I believe. He's a French Canadian.
Simon Gagne?
No, Ian Laperriere.
Oh, Ian Laperriere. Oh, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. I wouldn't even have thought. I never think of him as playing for Philadelphia. Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
And on this date, 1982, talking about the Flyers, Philadelphia Flyers, heard his first NHL shootout.
Pelle Lindbergh?
Got it. On this date,
another sad player that unfortunately had a car accident.
Of course it is. Yep. 2015, this coach got his 500 win as a coach.
Oh my God. 2015?
Yep. He does not coach with that team now, and he's coaching with another team at that moment.
God, that could be so many guys. I mean, that could be Joel Quenneville, Barry Trotz. That could be Peter Laviolette. I don't know. 500 in
2015, last one, he was the coach for the Arizona Coyotes.
Dave Tippett?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. There's so many guys that are in that bunch.
In 1991, Scotty Bowman earned his with the Pittsburgh Penguins. How many games he won that year, 1991? He accomplished is a 600. 1991 is a 600, 700, 750, or 800.
His wins would have been 700.
on that year, 1991.
Oh, in 91?
Yeah. Like when he, at that moment he got his.
Yeah, because then he coached in Detroit after that. So that would have been 600 probably.
750.
It was 750. Wow.
Yeah. And me too.
How many did he win overall? 8 something? 880?
So again?
How many wins did he end up with? How many wins did he end up with after Detroit?
Oh, Detroit, he did a lot after that.
I know. That's why I was like trying to think of, was he like 800, 1,000?
Wait, he finished with what, 1,200?
Is that what he finished with? Wow, that's amazing.
I don't know. I'm just asking you.
I can't. Let's look. Scotty Bowman record 1,248.
So yeah, what's close? I was just guessing.
Wow.
That
So
was about there.
What was funny, if you recall, so he was a GM and the coach in Buffalo, goes to Pittsburgh. Bob Johnson's the coach. Bob Johnson passes away and he takes over. And he was kind of an afterthought. He was like an assistant coach.
You forgot Montreal.
What's that?
You forgot he coached in Montreal too.
Well, we know that, but in St. Louis, because he started,
Yeah.
he actually hired, well, he didn't hire, but
Yeah,
Jimmy
you're
worked
right.
there, right? 67,
Yeah,
68, 69, 70. Then he went to Montreal. And so it's funny, I don't know if you know, but he made the Stanley Cup final the first 3 years in St. Louis.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy? And then I think Philly was after that. But they were, wow, that's kind of crazy. What a career. I mean, I think it's too bad he should still coach.
1974. That
Philadelphia
team,
Flyers.
1934, that team began an NHL record of 23-game road undefeated straight, 14 win, 0 loss, 9 tie. Because those time it was a tie.
It's not Philadelphia?
No.
Boston?
No.
The only other thing I can think was Montreal, but I don't know if that
Got it.
It was because Philly won the cup that year, didn't they?
That year, yes, it was the last year with Montreal. Yes, exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you all this fun record. It's all about the same players. Pretty easy. But in 1969, he get his 1,700 on his 1,567 game. On this date in 65, he scored his 600 goal. And finally, in 1960, he became the first player in NHL history to reach 1,000 points. Who is he?
Oh, my God. I mean, I would think it's Gordie Howe, but.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. He did that by 1969.
Yeah, but, 60, he got 1,000 points. 65, he got his 600 goal. And then 69, he scored his 1,700 points. But
that's crazy.
And it's only in 1567 games.
That's so incredible. Like, what a crazy.
Yep. We don't, we know.
We don't appreciate how great he was.
Exactly, because we think always like Gaudior. For me, when you see Gaudior, it's longevity. It's like over 50 years old, play with his son. You know what I mean? Yeah, you have all the age of what he did on the ice, the productivity on an offensive side, because he was main. He was the guy with, you have almost a full, complete players about everything at those for many years in the NHL. You know what I mean?
Well, what's crazy when you look at the numbers is he did that in 69. He only played 2 more years in the NHL, and then he didn't play for 2 years, and then he came out of retirement and he played 1, 2, 3, 5. He played 6 seasons in the WHA.
Yep.
Wow. And then he played 1 more year in the NHL after that.
Yeah, he came back with his son Marty and
Mark.
One thing was, we know we are late right now. We have to jump on the Washington. But what's impressive? We lost those people in hockey.
We lost them?
Yeah, like we didn't ever heard like anything after Marty and Mark. After that, they never been like around to, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like they
I mean,
was
Marty was an average player, but Mark was an all-star, superstar player. I mean, and what was funny was I think he played forward with his dad, right? So he was a forward in the WHA, and then when he moved to D, he was like one of the top 5D in the NHL.
But my point, like we lost them, right? We never been around after that. Marty and Mark never been involved with anything about coach or something like that. Or
Well, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I know it's funny because when I would go to Detroit, I would always see Mark, and they kind of you would see Mark like in Detroit. So I don't know if that was because Gordy was there. He might have been. You would think that you would see them in a coaching capacity or something, right?
it's funny when you think about this. Every time I think about how I think about them with the Flyers.
Like even Bobby Hull's son, like Bobby Hull Jr. was a shooting, like he's got really actually very good shooting videos with Brett. Brett became a great player, and then Bart played in the CFL.
Yep.
So that was interesting. But yeah, you would think. Did Phil Esposito never have kids aside from Alexander Svets? What was his son-in-law's name?
Well,
Remember Svitov? No,
it was like
Selovanov. That's it.
It's a special name, right? It's a special name relate with hockey, right? So for me, it was like you see Wayne Gretzky involved with hockey. After that, you see
for sure
a couple of players
which
be around. Like those family was like maybe the spotlight. It was tired to be on the spotlight for many years compared with their dad and like that. So anyway, just a story about them. But yeah, you did pretty good. I think I like the first two.
Actually, so I don't know if you know, he's a scout. So Mark, I didn't realize, is on the Detroit Red Wings scouting staff.
Really?
Yep. So since he's retired, he had since 95, 96, he was a pro scout and then director of professional scouting. That's why I see him in Detroit all the time. So that makes sense. Because I would every time you go to Detroit, I'd see him. But that makes sense. He's on that.
Right? He's not like involved like this anymore.
No, he is.
But he's not in charge.
Yeah, he's director of professional scouting for the Detroit Red Wings.
He's still?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. He's been doing it since 95, 96. So he was a scout up until 2004-05. And then he became director of professional scouting in 05-06, and he's been there ever since.
Oh, wow. I did not know
I had
that.
no idea, honestly. I didn't even know.
I'm surprised.
No, so I guess we're wrong.
Glad we are not going to be always perfect here on that show anyway.
No, it's a good discovery, actually.
Right? It's good to know that. That's the reason we said this exercise blew my mind sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. I looked him up in Elite Prospects, and I'm like, oh, no, he's been on the staff the whole time.
We have a big 9 today on 10. I'm rating you 9 today to get Bush Goring on LA. And then you got the first one was, I don't remember. Who was the first one you got it?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Laperriere was a tough one. And you got...
I didn't get that one.
Bush Goring was a good one. And then you got another one. Oh, Pavel Demitra. Yeah, that's a good one too. That one done. So it's good to do that.
That's a tough one.
It was not easy one on that one. I don't think so. I would get it, honestly. I didn't remember him.
He was a very good player.
He was a really good. I remember him as a player, but
such a good player.
Great. To get great about that one over there.
So it was funny because he really didn't come to prominence until he went to St. Louis, and he had the best quote because in those days Ottawa was so poorly run, and they had a terrible expansion draft. And then they drafted Alexander Dagg. So just like a calamity, right? And he goes, and the reason they traded him is because he was talking to a reporter. He said, 5 points in 35 games. And he goes, we are not a very good team. We are terrible. And he had the nerve to say that to a reporter, and they traded him. And then he went on to like be a top player.
He dominated St. Louis. He
was so good.
3 great year back to back, 30, 40 goals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was really a very good player. So let's move on for the last part of the day with the Washington Capitals. I believe they are one of the top team this year again. I think they're going to start in the next 2 3 years. It would be interesting to see Ovechkin with his last season contract, where he's going to be back in KHL, who is going to be continuous another 1 2 3 more year with the Capitals, but that will be the big conversations during the year after that.
True. So, I mean, look, this team drives me nuts. And I think they drive any coach nuts. So Peter Laviolette's the new coach. I never understood. They went from Barry Trotz winning a Stanley Cup to Todd Reirden. And no offense to Todd Reirden, but this has got to be the toughest team in the NHL to coach. They have all the talent, and they're the best party team in the NHL. And I don't know if you heard this. You might have told me. I can't remember who told me, but there was like definitely in the bubble, they got knocked out in the first round. And apparently they were partying like madmen in the bubble. So it just doesn't make any sense with, you know, how much talent they have. And I think Nicholas Backstrom had the best quote after they won the Stanley Cup. He goes, "Hey, look, we finally worked as hard as we party, and look what happens."
Yep, so right.
And then
I would tell you one thing: the reason why is, remember, it's about the culture.
The culture is terrible.
And I think you know, we're always going to compare Ovechkin with Crosby, but I would say to you, compare the culture of Pittsburgh versus Washington, and that's the reason why we are.
Pittsburgh is all business. And the way, I think the thing, you know, I think I paid 3 times or went 3 times live to see Ovechkin, including in Buffalo, in LA, and in Toronto, and every time was terrible. And I was like, I can't stand watching this guy because he floats and he's got his stick in the air and he's doing this. And all of a sudden he explodes and he scores a goal. Actually, he never scored when I watched him live.
Really?
No. And it's like he would get on the highlight reel. And I was like, I can't stand him. He's terrible. So for me, not my favorite player. Contrast that with Crosby, who he was compared to because they were drafted, you know, around at the same time. And Crosby is a little guy that works his butt off. He's a complainer, but he's very intense. And he, you know, this is a guy who came in jail, couldn't win faceoffs, worked his butt off to become one of the best faceoff men in the NHL. He just works on his weaknesses and he works on his strengths. He just works. So I think that's a big contrast between the two. And if I remember when Mike Johnson was coaching the Penguins and we went to see him in Los Angeles at the practice, and in walks Crosby in a suit to practice. And in walks Ovechkin in a suit to practice. And then in walks Phil Kessel. And Phil Kessel's in an Under Armour shirt. You could see rolls in his shirt. And he's like, "Hey, guys." And he's like, you know, he's like just being goofy. And it was such a contrast. Like, it didn't fit. And they tolerated him because they knew he was very talented. And they let him be himself. But because it didn't affect that core culture. That's how strong that culture was in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
And you can see that they on the ice, every guy, like, what was the guy that came over in the trade from, was it Atlanta, the French Canadian player? And he ended up, his career got cut. Pascal Dupuis.
Yeah.
Pascal Dupuis couldn't even play because he had the injury. And he was on the ice working his butt off. I've never seen it. Like, they worked. The only guy that didn't work was Phil Kessel, and they tolerated it just because he was just who he was, right?
Yeah.
That's how tight that culture is. Washington has a nonstop reputation of being, they just party. It's ridiculous. Like, to hear this is really disconcerting. So I don't know. I give a lot of credit to Barry Trotz for being able to pull it together. Dale Hunter couldn't deal with it. Dale Hunter's like, I'm going back to junior.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right there. It's not easy, but again, the culture of every team, you start with the top to the top to the bottom, and when you hit the ice, you don't have that kind of people buy the culture and move with the same. You know what I mean? Like, listen,
it's frustrating to hear these stories. I mean,
listen, Pittsburgh, we talk about 40, 45 years when the Mario Lemieux completely that franchise, and he's still in the booth upstairs and
right,
watching those players.
I know.
And so it's go from there to go all the way. It's the same. You know, you don't say this with Washington, obviously, but again,
that's a good comparison because I think Mario was often criticized, and Mario was a weird case, right? He smoked, he didn't work out, but I think he was always very gentlemanly, and he put up with a lot of barbs because the NHL was a rougher place when he was around, and they would have all the clutch and grab era, and they're like, oh, he's complaining, but he was right. And I think that when Brendan Shanahan got them to change the whole, you understood what Mario Lemieux was about because that's what Pittsburgh was about after.
Yeah.
It was about carrying themselves in a certain way, showing up very serious. It wasn't, he was saying things about the game because he was very serious about it being the best, and he wanted to be the best. And you saw that, and that carries over to Crosby, that carries over to Malkin, and everybody else that's since. Washington, by contrast, is just a really strange situation because they have all the talent in the world, Pierre. It's crazy. Now we see that Holtby moves out. We know Reardon moves on. They bring in a world-class coach in Peter Laviolette that you got to hope that he can do what Barry Trotz did. He's now followed Barry Trotz twice, right? He followed him in Nashville, couldn't win, but I think he's hoping that he can win a cup in Washington.
He's a good coach.
He's a great coach.
Great coach, yeah.
Absolutely. He is like one of the top 5 or 10 coaches in the NHL. Like, it's hard to argue with. Like, he plays an attacking style. So he wants people to be defensively responsible, but he plays an attacking style. So I think that'll fit very well in Washington. Can he keep these guys from going out and getting drunk every night? Can he keep them from going out and partying till 4 or 5 in the morning? It's sad that at the NHL level, you've got to say that. But, let's look again. Like Ovechkin, there's talk, even Yager saying, and I think this is probably the kiss of death for Ovechkin. Every time Yager says someone's going to be great, the last guy was Valery Nichushkin. That doesn't happen. But, he's saying, like, look, Alex Ovechkin could catch Gretzky in the goals. But he's just a one-trick pony, but he's a great pony. He's a racehorse that way. Does that translate into winning a cup again? I have a hard time seeing it. They have all the talent, though. I love Backstrom, the way he plays. Carlson's a great player. Kuznetsov is, like, way underrated. I think this team goes as Kuznetsov goes. PBC moves on. Probably going to bring in Henrik Lundqvist. I find it very difficult to see Henrik fitting in with that culture. I got to think that he shifts it a little bit because he's serious. He's there to win. So they're going to take a crack at it. We're going to find out. They are very good evaluators of talent, by the way. I mean, when we look at their draft, you're going to see, like, I think the move to get Henrik Lapierre was very smart.
I talk about this, Michael, because I just read this, like the time you were talking, I was looking about this. Since 2000, they have only 5 times they pick on their 15 round.
Yeah, they get very good players.
25, 29, you can go all the way and look their success they got. It's unbelievable.
It's actually very, so again, you look at this year's draft. I like the Henrik Lapierre move. It's a little risky because he's had the concussion issues, but we see he's a very talented player. He would be a top 10 player otherwise. I like Connor McMichael. Here's a late round guy. He's a 100-point player in the OHL. He's going to play on Team Canada again. He's got potential to be a top 6 player, maybe.
25.
I really like the move to get Alexander Alexiev. He's a big defenseman that played in Red Deer. He's a Russian-born player. He can shoot the puck and he can skate, and he's very good. By the way, they drafted Riley Sutter. So Riley is Ron's son, and he was played with the Everett Silvertips. And I think Riley's got potential to be a 3rd or 4th line player in the NHL probably. So here's a guy that's drafted in the 3rd round. He's underrated skill wise. He's 6'3", 6'4". So they pick up players like that, right? That they think have potential. We know they traded a bunch of draft picks here, but then look before that.
After that, by the way.
Yeah. Another ex-Silvertip, Garrett Pilon. His dad was Rich Pilon. He's a good AHL player, and he might get a cup of coffee in the NHL. Samsonov at 22nd is looking brilliant.
Yep.
I mean, this is like a guy that
look. You're on 12-14. That's the first time.
It's crazy.
The first time they got under 15, Michael, 7 years ago.
Crazy. So then let's look at that year, Samsonov. But then they also get Siegenthaler. And we know Siegenthaler just signed a new contract. He's an NHL player, picked in the second round, right? The year before that, Jacob Varna is like on their team, and he's a 20-plus goal scorer.
Yep.
So he's a very good player. Nathan Walker's had a cup of coffee in the NHL. Andre Burakovsky, we see he moved on finally, probably the best thing for him. He goes to Colorado, and he's a 24 goal scorer in the NHL. We know Madison Bowie probably, I don't know if he'll get another contract, but he played in Detroit a little bit last year. I still like Madison. I think he's just got some problems with playing defense, which is his role. But look at Zach Sanford. I mean, Zach Sanford is a very good power forward. Like, so they do a good job of evaluating talent.
I know. I have to give good credit for them.
I think so.
Yep.
If we look at scoring last year, so we see Ovechkin. Obviously, he's got 706 NHL goals, Pierre, in 1,152 games. So this is why, like, he doesn't look like he's letting up. He had 48 goals in 68 games this year. He was definitely going to get 50, maybe 55, 60. You can see why Yager would say, hey, this guy could catch Gretzky. He's not that far off. Where'd Gretzky end up?
I'll be honest with you. I don't like compare, and I don't think I'm right.
He's not Gretzky,
but he's still like the Gordy or 2.0 on the right now, because his physicality, the way he played physical too, he can hit people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's not a fighter, of course, but as a prototype, the guy. It's rare to have a sniper like him score a lot of goals and he can play football. He's 30 pounds, 25 pounds.
Huge. He's huge. But, it's weird. When you see a player get 48 goals and 19 assists, like, he's living, I don't know. He's just, for me, I've never loved him. We know that he's an elite talent. He had one dip, right? And that was the year they moved on from Bruce Boudreau. He must have been really partying that year. But it's pretty hard to say. Like, he could catch Gretzky. You never know. It's not out of the realm. It's not like he looks like he's slowing up. And it's like his game is very specific. Yeah. John Carlson, we see, has emerged as a top NHL defenseman. 75 points in a game. I'm sure to me, he would have been the best player on the team, but I think I give that to Kuznetsov. And look at Jacob Varna. We just mentioned, like, he's a 25 goal scorer right there in 69 games. TJ Oshie coming over from St. Louis it's totally made his career. Like, the guy has taken his game to another level. He's clutch scorer. By the way, born in Everett, Washington, grew up in Washington State and left to go play in Minnesota. But, because there was no hockey in Washington compared to what he needed. Tom Wilson, like, this guy is a monster. He's got to restrain himself because he's like, he can score.
Is the Wayne Simons 2.0.
Which one?
Wayne Simons.
Yep. He's scary. He's a big man that can get points. He has a hard time not getting suspended, but I think he's such a throwback player. Like, he's another level, he's definitely in the 90s. That guy would have been a superstar. Yeah. We see Dmitry Orlov, totally underrated number 2 defenseman. So they've got talent. Like, they're a good group. Garnet Hathaway, if you've ever watched him, like, he looks like he should be able to get a lot more points. I forgot to mention that Radko Gudas has moved on. And I think they re-signed Brendan Dillon, didn't they?
Gudas was with Florida.
Oh, he's signed in Florida, yeah.
He went to Flowers and then he come back. He went to Flowers, but...
Well, he played last year, though, in Washington.
Yeah. No, but he was coming from Flowers to Washington. Washington signed out of UFA.
Hold on. I thought he played in he played in Washington last year, didn't he?
Yeah. He was with Washington last year, but he came from the Flowers or something.
Oh yeah, he played Flyers, played 1 year in Washington. Now he's Florida. Yeah. Former Everett Silvertip.
Yep.
And he played another team, Kladno, which is owned by Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun fact. So I don't know. They've got talent and depth. Kovalchuk, we know, isn't sticking around there probably, but you never know. Maybe they re-sign him.
No.
Where did Brendan Dillon end up? Did he not re-sign with them?
Who?
Brendan Dillon.
Brendan who?
Hold on.
Brendan Dillon. Yeah, he signed a contract 4 years.
Yeah. So Brendan Dillon resigns. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
I think he's a good, kind of number 4 defenseman that'll really help them. He's big. He can skate well. He's not going to get you a lot of points, but he's tough to play against.
Yep. No, good defense. Whoops. I'm by myself right now. We lost Michael. Hopefully we could be back. We're still live.
One move and it's got to be very careful with this hand. So I think that's a good move for them. They signed Henrik Lundqvist, which I think is a good move for them. In the end, this team is going to be, let's see, screen share. Sorry, Pierre.
That's all right.
There we go. In the end, I think that this is not a team that has a cap problem right now. Like they're only spending.
They have zero projected with $1 million for now.
Yeah, but they don't need anything.
But they still have 2 more players to sign.
Who?
But they have only 21 players on the roster.
Oh, well, I mean, everyone that's going to play is signed. I don't know. They signed Trevor Van Riemsdyk to an $800,000 contract. So let's see.
Forward, Michael.
So they need 2 more contracts?
Yeah, because they have 9 defensemen.
Let's take a look at who else they have.
One defenseman you did not talk, I think he's good, is Michael Kempney.
Michael Kempney, another example of where he's played very well for them. They signed Phoenix Copley. It's interesting because Phoenix Copley is getting $1.1 million.
He's the most more money right now.
Wow, but he'll be in the AHL, I would think. Here, let me just pull up. I'll pull up their buried contracts. So, they signed Henrik Lapierre to his entry-level deal. They signed Connor McMichael to their entry-level deal. Alexiev, you would think, he's signed for 3 more years at $860. And then you mentioned, I think on the roster, obviously Kempney is going to be a top 4. So if you look at what I'm guessing is going to happen, I would not be surprised to see Henrik Lapierre get a shot. I would not be surprised to see Connor McMichael on the roster. I would not be surprised to see guys like Garrett Pilon, another ex-Everett Silvertip, and Riley Sutter get an opportunity to play up. They have Daniel Sprong. So Daniel Sprong is totally capable of playing a top 6 or a top 9 role in this team if he can keep his head on straight. We know he's very talented and he's scored a lot of goals in a short amount of time. So they have guys that can move up. Scarbosa can pick up some games here and there. So they've got some players. They probably it wouldn't hurt them to pick up a couple of extra bodies. But the reality is on the roster, even though, as you say, they only have 21 players, look at all the defensemen. So Carlson and Orlov will be top. And they signed Brett. See, this one makes no sense to me, Pierre. Justin Schultz, if you know anything about Justin Schultz, his injury is significant. So he's never really recovered his skating, but they signed him to a 2-year, $4 million a year contract. They signed Brendan Dillon 4 years at 3.9. And then you mentioned Michael Kempney is on a very favorable contract at 2.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top 5 defensemen there. Nick Jensen at 2.5 for 3 years. He's a very serviceable number 5-6. And then they pick up Van Riemsdyk. Then they sign Siegenthaler to 1 more year. All these guys are capable of playing, daily in the NHL. So they have a lot of depth on D without bringing anyone up. And then in the minors, we know they have Alexiev. And I think he's pretty much ready to come up. And then, Paul Leduc came. He's older now, but he can fill in if you need him to. He came from LA. He's pretty decent. On forward, we know we've got Kuznetsov and Backstrom and Ovechkin and Oshie and Wilson. You got Lars Eller. You got Varna. And then the second tier, you kind of got Hagelin, Panic, Hathaway, and Dowd. Like, I don't know that there's much room there for people to sneak in. I would see maybe they keep McMichael and maybe they keep Lapierre because they might not have junior seasons. So I think you might see guys like that. That'll be interesting to watch. And they're only spending 2.4 million, 2.5 million on goaltenders right now. We know that's going to change when they got to sign Samsonov.
That's why I saved them right now.
Yeah, totally. So then they do have to re-sign Ovechkin, which you anticipate will happen. I mean, I think that they're going to sign him for 2 to 4 years. It depends on his desire to play. I think he's going to want to chase Gretzky.
Yeah, I expect him a contract 2-3 years max, and you give him about much 9 million. You will get maybe 8 million, something like that. Not going to get more.
Agree.
Yeah, I mean, but again, they have to sign Brenna after that. Brenna is a big number at 3.3, but
that could be a big number.
Right now, they have nothing else. They have anybody else like the two last at the bottom is not a big deal, and Samsonov is not going to get more at $3 million.
I think you're right. They might, but I can't believe. I think that they're going to buy some time with the Samsonov deal. I believe in a year they'll probably have to buy out Justin Schultz. I don't understand this contract. They should have signed him to a 1 year, $2.5 million contract. If you watch him in Pittsburgh, he fell off significantly.
Oh yeah, of course. At $4 million right now, this year, he has a lot of money on the board.
Too much.
Because he could have a guy at 2 point something right now join the team, a forward somewhere.
Yep, I agree. But I mean, the reality is, this is going to be a very difficult team for anybody to get any ice time on, other than what you're looking at. So anyone that is coming up is definitely an accessory to what's going on. Their bottom half is very strong with Hagelin, Lars Eller, and Richard Panik. We know can score in the NHL. Nick Dowd is
that at some point. You talk about the top 9 players everywhere, right? Yesterday was who we talked yesterday? It was Toronto.
Yeah.
Compare the top line, like this team right now. It was Vancouver earlier.
Vancouver,
right? How many times we talked the bottom 6 was terrible. Look, Washington, they still have Hagelin and Vrana or Eller as the third line. They just need to put now Panik there. Look, compared with any other team right now,
they're very good.
That's what the reason they have a chance to be a part of the top 5, top 7 team in the NHL.
Garnett is like a player that can play. He can for sure play top 9, and maybe he can sneak into the top 6 on a lot of teams because he's a big guy and he's got some offense. So they've got lots of depth on forward. They have lots of depth on D. Now, I don't love the Schultz contract. I don't think he should be playing top 4 minutes. I think it doesn't matter because Siegenthaler's real good. Jensen's real good. And what we don't see on here is you've got Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
Well, is solid. I think so. You're right. When you have John Carlson play 30 minutes per game and he can bring like 60, 70 points per year, you know what I mean? Like the 5th and 6th shows the only thing. The only thing I would say is not right on that is only the contract of Justin Schultz at $4 million.
Yeah, that's the only bad one.
That's the only bad one. The rest is pretty good. And then, they still have all their pick next season. Round number 3, they're not there.
Draft picks.
So
and
I think
they've got and look at what they have in the pipe, right? They've got Riley Sutter is probably a 3rd, 4th line type guy in the future. They've got Connor McMichael, who I think could be a top 6 in the NHL at some point.
Yep.
And then they just drafted Henriks Lapriere. Yep. And then on top, you look at a guy like Bear Hughes. You look at a guy like, they still have Alexiev, so they've got lots in the can. Like they could be
Imagine that one over there. I'm still shaking my head on how we talked about this couple of weeks ago. But imagine Philip Forsberg between this.
Oh my God! If you didn't trade Philip Forsberg. Can you imagine? Would Philip Forsberg fit in with this team, though? I don't know.
Oh my God.
He's so talented, though. Can you imagine that? That would be like crazy. Jeez. Yeah. So no matter what, they're very dangerous on paper. It's sad to say, but the trick will be, can the coach get them to play without partying? Oh, it looks like my battery's going to die. I should have plugged in, but I might cut out and you hear Pierre.
All right.
Anyways, I think the reality, I didn't do the crazy math, but I think the reality is this team scores 280 goals. They'll probably only let in like 210 or 220 in a full season. They're going to be a 100-plus point season team. And the question is, do they want to get out of the first round? Are they focused and committed enough? And will they do the right thing off the ice? Because they're not getting any younger. But they don't look like they're losing any steam either. So I think Peter Laviolette wants a cup, and hopefully he can motivate them to do the same and do more than say it, But there's nothing wrong on paper with this team, and they've got lots of prospects in the pipe, and their contracts are all pretty favorable.
When you think about this, when they trade for this Forsberg, they got Martin Erat and a minor league Michael Letta. That's it.
Michael Letta, wow.
Nothing else. Nothing like. And then if I remember, I could be wrong, but I think he played only 61 game with Washington.
Who? Forsberg?
Erat.
Oh, Martin Erat played that. He left, yeah.
And he scored a goal. He went to Phoenix after that.
Yeah, I don't even know if did he play the next year even?
Yes, he played like only 17 games, and then he finished with 80 games. Since 14-15, he's not in the NHL anymore. He's on 81, so he will be like 40 years now, 40 years old.
62 games. What a wait. He had 1 goal in 53 games, Pierre. And he was a goal scorer before.
But, you have to be careful. He was a good scorer, but he never been over 25 games.
No,
25 goals. He was like only, like 19, 17, 21, 17, 23, 16, 20, 16. So he never been over 60 goals. So when you trade against Felix Forsberg,
yeah, my device is going to die here, by the way. I should grab a charger. Hold on.
So anyway, it's a big problem there when you think about that. So just give you an idea how was that trade, and it was completely a bad situation for the Washington Capitals. Remember those GM at that time, it was Mr. George McPhee, where he went to Vegas. He looked good because all those kind of player pick was, but as honestly, McPhee never been, for me in my book, one of the best GM, and you can see what happening over there now. He did a couple of trades, like if you think about the trade he did with Montreal Canadiens for Nick Suzuki, and you can go all the way like that. So he did a couple. So that was trade with Martin Erat and Michael Letta with Washington. It came from the manager George McPhee. But again, I think Washington Capitals are on my top 8 power ranking list for the upcoming season. I think I have to back with you guys to the next couple of days when we'll be done with that 31-31. We're going to move on to the next thing. I'm going to give you more information about our power ranking list, and willfully the NHL, it's coming back, and see when they're going to restart and for the upcoming season 2020 and 2021. And finally, I want to mention to you is we will coming back for the next Monday, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to talk about the honestly, the last 31-31 with the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And then we're going to shift to the Seattle draft pick per team. So we're going to do another, until the season not restart, we're going to go back to another 31-31. But that 31-31 is not about the preview. It's about who they're going to offer, which player they're going to get on the unprotected list to offer to the Seattle new team, the guard, whatever they call it, and then we're going to see our list. We're going to go back for team by team who we think they are going to protect, and the list has always been 10 players, 7 forward, 3 defensemen, 1 goalie, or you can shifting. You can go with 4 defensemen, 6 forward, and that's what you can do during that time. So it would be very interesting to see that. I think it'll be a great exercise to do that also, and I'm sure Michael is going to be jump on it, and then do it all together. So I'm excited about that one over there. and to start next week during the middle of the week and see what happened. We're going to hit December. It's very interesting, since I'm born long time ago, right? It's my first time. I don't have no hockey in October, November, December. Honestly, we don't know. Yesterday at Thanksgiving, people watch football. I'm not a guy passionate about football. I don't have anywhere the cable, honestly, but I'm missing hockey. We supposed to talk to you right now. What happening between Calgary and Vancouver last night? What's the final score? Who scored? What's the game for tonight? What's the preview or prediction for the game tonight? That's what we do at 11 o'clock every morning. We talk about the upcoming game and we talk about the resume of the game prior today. And then we talk about the standing. We talk about who's going to make the playoff, and we go who's the top. All the stats around the league, everything like that. That's what our early show, the morning at 11 o'clock, is all about. And then of course we go around the CHL and we talk about prospect player, but not the way we're doing right now. Right now we don't know what's next. We really don't know what the upcoming season's going to start. We maybe not have a no season. Maybe we're not going to have anything until September and then skip the season. That would be sad. If you're really fans of hockey, you have a passion about hockey, you want to see hockey. Whatever it was, fan, no fans, for me, it's not a big deal. But I just want to see them play. I just want to have a hockey game to watch every night. You know what I mean? Like, it was amazing during the playoff. It's like, it was almost like the madness March, March Madness with basketball. One every day, you have 4 or 5 games to watch. It was hockey and during the playoff. Welcome back, Michael. I'm hanging there.
I thought you'd be done, but no, you hung on.
Talking about, what I will going to do after that, if you don't mind, next week, starting another round of 31-31, because we don't have hockey until another month at least. So I was talking to do the Seattle picks per team. Who they going to protect? The 10 list players protection.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
All right, and then we can go all the way like this for each team. I think it will be a good exercise to do. We know you have certain rules. If you don't play, if you're a rookie or have a contract and everything like that, you cannot be on the list. But
yeah, I like that.
So it'll be interesting to go one by one, reset the schedule with Anaheim and do it all the way.
And then we can do a draft at the end each.
Yeah, it'll be interesting about that one there. So that's when we go next week. We know we have to finish Monday with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh no, we did those.
We did not do Vegas.
Yeah, we did Las Vegas.
We skipped.
We already did it.
You think?
Yeah, we did Las Vegas. We did it with the L after Los Angeles by accident or before Los Angeles. Remember we had this? It was like, wait.
I remember we talk about this, but I never remember we did it or not.
Yeah, I think we did it. Here, hold on. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure we have a video on it. I think the last one's Winnipeg.
Yeah, of course.
So if I look on the channel and I look under videos, we did Edmonton, Los Angeles, Minnesota. Oh, maybe we didn't. Did we skip them? Yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
Yeah.
I could have sworn we did them.
Because the reason why I remember this is why we said, we forgot Vegas. And then we said, is it the L or the V?
No, you might be right. Let me just double check and make sure.
I'm sure.
I think you might be right.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
Yeah. So we still have 2 more teams to go. And then Wednesday we're going to start the Seattle. What's the nickname again? The Seattle
Kraken.
The Kraken.
Have you seen? There's a movie with. I love the name, by the way, because there's the one quote. Hold on, I don't know if you've heard this. Do you know what a Kraken is, right?
Yeah, you told the story at one time, I think.
Brother,
yep.
It's time for the mortals to pay.
No? Oh, it's blocking it.
It's all right. No big deal. Sound good? It was like a great show today. We go all around the.
Here we go. Liam Neeson. Here we go.
Release the Kraken.
Yeah.
So what will happen now? We'll see what happens next week and go from there. So thanks again, Michael. It was a great show. We go over 1 hour today. We know it's a Thanksgiving. Everybody, I went to the gym. Yeah, I don't know what the people do the next day, but nowhere. So it's funny to see people don't show up the next day of the Thanksgiving day.
I will work out. I promise.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend. And then look forward to see you Monday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time with Coach Frenchy from the booth. And, of course, our co-host, Michael Devellano. Have a great weekend, everybody.
So, wait, are we doing Monday? Are we doing Winnipeg or Vegas?
We're going to go with Winnipeg. Let's finishing, then come back with Vegas.
Okay.
Maybe the future Stanley Cup winner of 2020-2021.
Well, I never would have said that before, but with Alex Pietrangelo mad, maybe.
Yeah, they are the
Alex
top
Pietrangelo is the man of willpower. I don't like the rest of the team. Like, they kind of.
We're going to see what happened with Colorado also. I think they are the top three right there.
I think Colorado, like, if they stay healthy.
Yep.
If the Washington Capitals win the Stanley Cup, I'm going to throw up.
They won't, but it will be a good.
Toronto?
And Tampa Bay, I think they're also going to be interesting. The next move, what's going on.
Tampa too. But all right, so Pierre, what happens if Toronto wins the Stanley Cup?
It's impossible, but
but what if?
Everything is possible. Sorry, all the Toronto fans. I'm going to get shot now, but you need to learn before you win, and I think they still have to learn one more year what they have, and then after that they have more chance than 2 years. But they're probably going to get what they do with Anderson as the UFA.
I don't think that. I think this is kind of like they'll have to retool. If they don't win it this year, they're going to lose all those veteran guys and.
Oh yeah,
I think it's really tough, to your point, to magically win the cup after not having any precedent. Can't get out of the first round and then you win. Like,
you have a great article for how do you project your team today in the 3 years with the best salary cap? Everything on that. Toronto was on the top 5. I was impressive.
When you look at them, they have lots of young talent and they've got lots of.
Yeah, well, yeah, that they got like an 8.9 on talent. So pretty amazing. So we'll see what happens.
All right, have a good Black Friday.
All right, enjoy your shopping online.
Yeah.